All right, welcome back to Keepin' It Comic, and we're back with another Marvel The Ultimates breakdown here with issue number 4, and this one dives into the origin of Reed Richards' Dr. Doom in the Ultimate Universe. And I will tell you, as it pertains to the Maker, I have never hated any villain more than how I hate him right now, and I promise you will too. Now, this story here goes back and forth a lot between past and present, but it all does work really well together as we go through it. The way I'm going to be talking about the story, though, is that I'm going to stay at times on the things happening in the past instead of going back and forth, and I'll be doing the same as well for the present, and then we'll kind of mix and mingle, intertwine, and things like that, right? So we first pick up on Reed Richards in a college classroom where the teacher is asking a question about the fourth dimension, which is something that will be important to talk about a little bit later on here. Now, simultaneously, we get the shot of Reed with the other members of the Fantastic Four crew going on a mission that should have turned them into the Fantastic Four. But because of what the Maker did, that mission will end up being unsuccessful, and we will see why that is later on. Now, at the same time here, we get a view of the Fantastic Four team on the screen with the Ultimate Universe Reed Richards Doom looking at them. Now, this is a visual here that Ultimate Doom has from the secret files that the Maker had left behind after he was trapped in the dome. And then next we see Ultimate Universe Doom here tinkering with something while Iron Lad calls for him, asking him if he's there. And then we do see where Ben Grimm meets a 13-year-old Reed Richards in college who would be the pilot for their shuttle that goes into space. And Ultimate Doom mentions how in the current world that in order to save the world, that time travel is not an option with the Immortus engine being off limits. Now, the reason why that is because when Doom and Tony, aka Iron Lad here, escaped into the future, they created origin boxes to send back to the people who were supposed to originally be heroes. Because the Immortus engine is a time machine, well, it's actually a little bit more complex than that, but you can use it to travel back in time. They sent those boxes back in the past using the Immortus engine. Unfortunately, when some of those boxes arrived, it caused casualties. It stated that only 2 of the boxes took, 2 of which we know are Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate Captain Marvel. We haven't met Ultimate Captain Marvel as of yet. But then for the others, it was stated that they were either rejected or deceased. A lot of accidental suicides by superpower. So since then, Tony has stated that the Immortus engine is off limits. So what Doom is trying to do is that he's trying to recreate the Fantastic Four, but due to the walls that the Maker has put around the past and also the Immortus engine being down, it's basically not going to work here. So what he's doing is that he's trying to do it in another way here by conducting experiments on mice. Unfortunately, up until this point, all of them keep dying as a result. So when Tony Stark, Iron Lad, finally meets with Doom, he tells him, hey, you missed another mission here and we really needed you. If it wasn't for America, Giant Man would have been dead. Now, Tony is referring to America Chavez, who they saved back in issue number 2 of the series, although I'm sure Captain America was helpful too. So we continue to see more of Reed Richards' past here. He meets with Sue Storm for the first time. We see their shuttle launch, but then in current time, we see Doom struggling with his hands, which Tony wants to know, like, what's been going on here? Like, what's going on with that? And then Doom lets him know that he injured them in an experiment, which is the one that we just talked about, experimenting on mice, which Tony is kind of wondering, like, yo, what has he been doing? So he later on tells him. Now, Doom lets Tony know that he struggles with periods of extreme despair. And during those times, he basically loses himself, loses all hope. He basically mentally goes to what he calls the negative zone, which is a really interesting way to say that, considering that we traditionally know the negative zone to be something else. So Tony's like, listen, I am sorry. I didn't know that, but at the same time, that's really still no excuse, to which Reed understands and lets him know, like, hey, I will communicate better in the future. But then we go through another series of things happening here in the past. Also, by the way, these things that he is seeing, Tony Stark is also able to see them as well. So he's getting a little bit of a rundown here of his history too. First, we see Reed making a presentation discussing how the world is ready for transformative ideas. We see where the shuttle gets into space, where Reed talks about their intention of getting readings from the cosmic storm. Then when the crew is on the shuttle in space, Reed starts saying how they missed it, referring to the storm, and how something must have been wrong with his calculations. But before he could finish his statement, Johnny starts saying, wait, I see something. And then shortly after that, something happens in the cockpit and it starts to catch on fire. This is ultimately what ended up killing Johnny Storm. The thing is that their mission to go into space wasn't supposed to happen. Sue and Johnny's dad, Franklin, mentioned how they had been spending too much money, and as the director of the project, his job is to make sure that he brings them back to Earth safely. And due to them spending too much money and failing safety inspections, that they were going to shut down the project. So the three of them, Reed, Sue, and Ben, teamed up to go on this unsanctioned mission together. Only thing is that they were supposed to have an initial crew of 9 people, but they needed to have at least 4 to be able to carry this out, which is why Johnny was brought on. So when he died, as you can imagine, they were set to face a lot of consequences for that, which is why we see this general talking to them about how they destroyed a $10 billion project and broke 100 laws, not to mention getting a minor killed. They are still working on how to try them, but basically he's saying that they're all going to go to jail for the rest of their lives. And to make matters worse, after this, the body of Ben Grimm was found at the bottom of an abandoned quarry, and the reports were ruling it a suicide, which at first I thought maybe the Maker did this, like orchestrated this somehow, but thinking of how Ben was seen picking a lot to get the team in, Johnny being dead, he probably thinks it's his fault because he's the pilot. I think it's legit that he probably did do this to himself, and also a kind of subtle hint, to me at least, to the truth being that Ben does really need Johnny in his life. And after Reed had been in jail for some time, we see Sue Storm in really bad shape. I mean, really bad shape here, where Franklin Storm mentions how he had to pull strings to get Reed to see her because he was in jail and she wanted to say goodbye. What happened to her is that a stray of cosmic radiation from what he calls their joyride tore her cells apart. There is nothing that we can do but just literally watch her fade away. So then he just tells Reed, he's just like, yo, hurry up, man, because you've killed both of my children now, Richards, and I curse the day that I've ever seen your face. Now, this is the pain that Reed, Doom, has been dealing with. Like, this is what he's been feeling since, like all of time here, because I believe that he still thinks that this mission failed because of him. The thing is that this was mostly orchestrated by the Maker, right? At least this very specific part, because back when Reed was doing his calculations, we saw that the Maker had popped up in secret and he was modifying those calculations so that the mission would fail, which then set everything else in motion after that. So this despair, this like dread, this sorrow that Doom is feeling right now, yo, it's all orchestrated by him. And there's more that you're gonna see later on as we go through this. This is why he keeps tinkering. This is why he keeps testing mice right now and trying to recreate the Fantastic Four, because I believe that he's not just doing this for the sake of, oh, I just want to recreate these heroes. He's doing this because there's a void in his life. There's this family that he's missing. That's the reason why he's continuing to do it. But he's also trying to right the wrong that he did in the first place, that he thinks like he did. And this is something that Tony can't really truly understand, right? Tony offers at least to help with his work, but Doom is like, listen, I have been studying cosmic energy all of my life, my guy. You do not have the expertise. And Tony's trying to tell him, though, don't be stubborn, and how he shouldn't let his ego jeopardize. But then Doom just cuts him off. He's like, the billionaire boy king, hampered since the womb, accuses me of ego? It is you who jeopardize the cause. Your arbitrary, irrational decision to abandon the Immortus engine and all of time. So then Tony's like, listen, when we use that thing, it killed people. We destroyed lives. So Doom is like, okay, how many lives have they killed? How many has the Maker destroyed? So Tony's like, listen, don't lecture me. I have lost. But Doom is like, bro, you've lost nothing. You have lost nothing. You don't know the meaning of the word. Perhaps one day you will, but Anthony, I hope not. Now, to be fair, truth is, Tony has lost, right? He lost his father, the original Iron Man. I don't necessarily remember what happened to his mom in this universe, but either way, he has lost, right? He's just not experienced life the way that Reed Richards' Doom has experienced life. So Doom goes on to say how he has always felt incomplete, that something was missing, even as a boy. But now when reading the Maker's files, I at least saw the shape of this absence. For me, what that means is that he is missing his family. We go back to that again, right? The Fantastic Four, the family he created, his destiny, that emptiness is a void that cannot be filled right now for him. And the world needs the Fantastic Four. Let's keep it real, right? The first family, the team that inspired so many others to become heroes, their world needs a Fantastic Four. So when we jump back to the past again here, we see where the Maker, he had kidnapped Reed Richards, and because he still had his prison gear on, right? Now greeting him by saying, hello, Doom, welcome to your brand new universe. universe. Then in another moment, we see where Reed had like aged up, and I'm like, huh? Like, how did he age up like that? To which Reed asks a question, how long have I been here? Has it been months or just a few minutes? But then the Maker is like, doom, doom, doom. I control the fourth dimension. I can squeeze centuries of pain into just a few thin moments. I can make a single conversation last a lifetime. This cocky mother. Listen, let's just move on. Then we see the Maker putting Reed through a series of modifications, strapping him down to a chair. What looks like magnetic rays being used on him all the time, right? Like he's telling, the Maker's telling him to accept his name as Doom, like you are Doom. The Maker at one point starts punishing him psychologically, saying to him, you make mistakes, don't you, Doom? Mistakes that kill friends, ruin lives, mistakes that blow up in your face. That's you, Doom. He then disfigures his face. He tells him, Doom is your name. Everything you touch, everything you are, everything you love, all doomed. Accept this and be free. We see him basically performing later on what looks like a lobotomy on him, saying again, Doom is what you bring. Doom is who you are. Now say it. Who are you? And the torture just continues. At one point, he like throws mice on him that look like they've been infected with gamma, or they're like gamma looking mice. Listen, it's probably not. I'm just mad at this point. Then we go back to the present here, right? Where Doom mentions how the knowledge of reality's incompleteness is an awful burden. It changes you, makes you something you never imagined that you could be. How he would tear the world down stone by stone to make it right again, but it slips through his fingers. So for now, he goes back to Tony and says, for now, I will try things your way for now. And I can't wait for him to kind of just go off the rails at some point here, like boot back up that Immortus engine and then just do some craziness, because I know in reality, Reed Richards is the same in terms of the 616 universe and in this ultimate universe here, right? 616 Reed always feels incompleteness, always trying to perfect something, right? Never satisfied. The difference is 616 Reed, he has Sue Storm. He has his friend in Ben. He has Johnny. Here, he has nothing. And that's what makes him Doom here in this universe, guys. This was a really good story. I absolutely loved it. This is tragic, but at the same time, really good storytelling here. And I appreciate reading this so much. One of the best comic issues I've read in probably since Ultimate Spider-Man. I mean, those are the two things right now that are really good. Listen, let me know what you think about this here in the comments down below. Leave a like on this video here for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Check out our playlist here where we've covered other issues on the Ultimates. We've also been covering Ultimate Spider-Man and also Ultimate Black Panther. So check out those playlists as well. Always appreciate you guys watching and being here. And as always, thank you so much for kicking it and keeping it comic. Bye.